do it. Hello, everybody. Welcome to this edition of Hanging Out with Temi and Dr. Juliana Anake Ugu.
Hello. I am
How
glad
have
to
you
be here
been?
again today. I've been
Good.
good. I've been
Yeah,
holding on.
you're holding on. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Really good to see you. I'm really excited. They said if you want to get anything tangible done, give it to busy people. It's only
Oh,
early. Yeah, it's only early in the morning there in Nigeria, but you are up and you're bright already. Fantastic.
yes.
Thank you
Fantastic.
so much. Yeah. Everyone, thank you for tuning in and thank you for watching us again. I've got my sister Juliana on the show today, and where
Today.
our
Yes.
topic for today is all are we all traumatized? I think it's a bit bold, but we've been thinking about this and also about the issue of trauma with migrants. So, Pastor Jill, you do,
Hmm.
divorce recovery and all sort of recovery. We're looking at the amount of divorces, especially amongst migrants in the diaspora. And when I looked at the causes of trauma, they talked about acute trauma, they talked about chronic trauma, they talked about complex trauma. And in all those categories, there's no migration there. I'm like, wow. So they're talking about accident, and I'm like, what? Mhm.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
So trauma
Mm.
is a person's emotional reaction to situation. Trauma is what happens to a person, how they lock this in into their mental atmosphere, how they
Mhm.
process what happened, how it was locked in into their mental atmosphere, and how it has shaped or formed the way they look at life and situations of life generally. You talked
Right.
about the three kinds of trauma. We have the
Mm.
acute trauma. Acute
Mm.
trauma here, something very impactful, negatively impactful, severe happens to someone once, and it has
Mhm.
remained with that person, and it has become the mirror through which the person looks at life as far as that angle of life is concerned. So
Right.
let's say somebody witnessed another person fall from a height, fall from a height, hit the ground and went
Mhm.
into pieces and passed. This person is going to be afraid of height all the days of his or her life, because each time the
Mhm.
person sees a height, all the person remembers is that occurrence. So
Yes.
that occurrence has been locked into the person's brain, has been locked into the person's emotion, and it has formed
Mhm.
the way the person looks at heights generally. So no matter how
Right.
secure the person is in the height, the person is going to remember that event. So one severe event in a person's life that has remained with the person and has formed the way the person sees things, acute
Mhm.
trauma. And we have
Okay.
chronic trauma. Chronic trauma is where you have one traumatic situation
Right.
that happens to someone over a period of time. So you probably someone was molested as a child, or someone
Mm.
lived in a home where there was little or no food, and so they
Mhm.
had to scratch from hand to mouth, and so it went like that day after day, where whenever there is
Repeatedly.
time to eat, repeatedly
Mhm.
there is
Repeated.
fight, there is quarrel, there is strife repeatedly in the home, or if somebody was
Mm.
sexually abused
Mm.
repeatedly, and so it's
Mm.
chronic over a period of time, and so that thing
Mhm.
is locked in the person's mind. And when the person begins to be afraid of lack and want, because as the person is growing up, all you're thinking about is the fact that while you were growing up you lacked, or we lacked in our house. And so the person is afraid of lack. So that becomes the person's trauma.
Mm-hmm.
Or where a person grew up where her father constantly treated her mother poorly. And so
Mm,
she grew up being afraid of being treated poorly by
mm,
a man. And so she's
mm,
protecting herself and she has built a wall around herself. And so each time a man comes around her and the man is trying to just be a normal human being, but she will
mm,
be seeing it from the eye of how her mother was treated over a period of time. So that's chronic
mm,
trauma. And then we have complex trauma, where
mm,
there are lots of different
multiple.
negative issues, multiple issues, different
Mm,
issues over a course of time. There is, if you live in Nigeria, like I live in Nigeria, thinking about it in the part of Nigeria where I live, you're thinking about traffic situation where you leave your house and it takes 3-4 hours to get to your workplace, which would have ordinarily been a 45 minutes drive. It will take 3-4 hours to get there, and you have to go through that same journey back home. You
mm,
get home, there is no light situation, and you have to provide your lots of different things. People live in war-torn areas. People live in places where there is crisis, there is security, insecurity, and there is
mm,
war. People witness other people being killed, and all of that. Complex issues, different issues, multiple issues happening
mm,
to someone over a period of time. And so this
mm.
person grows up and build some kind of an invisible wall around themselves in their
Yes.
mind.
Yeah.
All of these issues become the mirror through which they look at life over um, every kind of situation, because they are afraid that what they saw, the situation they have found themselves in, is about to repeat itself. So they are on this mode, this protection mode, self-defense mode. So they want to defend themselves from what happened to them over the years. So
Mm.
that is trauma,
Wow.
somebody's emotional reaction to difficult situations.
Wow. So I like all the definitions that you have given. And what I gather and what has been coming to me also is the fact that you might go through all these things at the time. And then you know how it also says trauma is something that you will not be able to manage. But as Christian, we will think we're able to manage it. That God will not test us with something that we're not capable of managing, and when we, face our muscles and try to use, religion to kill it. And you might not know at the time. I say this to say that, when I till today, I'm saying it, I'm putting it out now. When I'm driving and there's a car following me for half an hour, I pull over. Till today, I'm like, why are you following me? I turn right to turn right. I turn left. Now I'm thinking that would be the trauma from Nigeria.
Exactly.
That when people are following you, they're probably tracing you, they want to snatch your car and steal something. That is
Or
the trauma.
kidnap.
But or kidnap. But these things is there, hidden. But if you ask me, do I have trauma? I will say no. So I had to go through a process of therapy and all sort of things, and my friend is a therapist, will say grinding. This is just to reflect and just, how we pray and say, God, search me. Is there anything that is left in me that I need to deal with? That these things
Hmm.
now start to come to me. But do you know how long it's taking me that I will say I don't
To
have
get here.
trauma? I don't think that.
Hmm.
I thought there was no trauma, and I would say things like, even when my mom and my dad would be fighting, and all these things, I would say that my mom protect us, but we could see, we know, but I will always defend myself by saying, Mom always protect us, so we don't see, but we see. I know what I saw. That I saw. So until I grew up a long time before I start to realize that those things, like what you saw,
Where's
you
trauma?
spoke about, they were trauma. I'm not supposed to be exposed to all these things. It's a trauma. So then if my husband just say something little, I will snap. I will say, why are you talking to me like that? Why? I thought I'm better than that. What did I do to deserve that? I'll be so upset until my therapist told me, Temi, your husband is not your father. So you can't
Exactly.
be, when he said that, something just dropped. And do you know what? He put me in a box like a little kid. He says, come back. Don't look at yourself as a little kid, but now you're grown up. Look at you now. Like he
Mm,
paints the picture. And then he says to me, so now as a grown woman, you start to think as a grown woman and speak as a grown woman. So that means if your husband says something, you ask him to clarify. Is that what you're saying? Rather than me get, and do you know what I do? I get muted, Sister J. I am like I can't talk no more because I've been pulled, I've been daggered for
mm.
every little thing. I'm actually extremely hot that I can't speak. So I will have to pray and say, Lord, open my mouth just to even talk. I can't. I got frozen. So these are trauma. So I was wondering how many people will be in my position and they will not call it the name that it is that we're
Exactly.
saying now and say, I'm a pastor, I don't have trauma, because we don't even know what trauma is, Sister Julie. We
Yes,
don't know the
yes, yes.
definition.
So that is why these conversations have become necessary. That is why it is good. That's why I commend you for talking about it. We need to talk about it more so that
Mm.
it becomes our normal. We become
Right.
used to it. We begin to recognize some of the things we do as our trauma. You know,
Mm.
you talked about divorce, you talked about migrants and all of that. See, now you hear a young woman say, um, I do not want to be married and change my name to my husband's name. So she's
Yes.
talking about and then she mentions that I am married to a man who loves me. I have children. I love my children. She never says I love
She
my
loves
husband.
husband. Yes.
No,
Mm.
she never says it. She doesn't
Wow.
know that is her trauma because to her, when she loves her husband, if she says it, then she's going to be vulnerable. She does not want
Hmm.
to be seen as being vulnerable, as loved, because
Wow.
she has come to interpret being loved or expressing love as somebody running over you and not being strong, not being feminine enough, not being woman enough. Probably
Wow.
because she saw her mother love her father and talked about the fact that she loved her father and kept telling her father, I love you, and her father taking her mother for granted. So she has come to
Yes.
interpret telling you I love you to being taken for granted. So she never
Hmm.
wants to say I love my husband or say
Wow.
tell her husband I love you. But she would tell
Hmm.
you boldly, I am married to a man who loves me to pieces and I have beautiful children that I love to pieces. But she never says I love my husband. Now,
Wow.
she doesn't know that
Hmm.
in all of that, her husband is also a human being. And that in all
Yes.
of that, he is also taking notes. And that over the
Hmm.
years, he will come to begin to, because he craves being told that he is loved too. I mean, he's a human being.
Hmm.
If he loves you enough for you to be talking about it, you should love her enough to be talking about, you should love him enough to be talking about it too. So if you're
Openly
not talking about the
speaking.
fact that you love him openly, exactly, and you're not letting him see or hear you say you love him, he's going to come to a point where he will be feeling unloved. And that same thing this lady is afraid of will begin to happen even without her noticing. So
Hmm.
that is why, like I said earlier, these conversations have become really very necessary so that we
Hmm.
talk about them and we know that the fact that you experience something does not mean that it is like that. Let's
Hmm.
unlearn our experiences and learn new
Hmm.
things. You
Hmm.
talked about growing up. I grew up in a place where we struggled a lot for the basic needs.
Hmm.
So growing up, if I see where food is like being wasted, I'm traumatized because I feel like, oh, do not waste it.
Mhm.
If you have finished eating and it's some part of the food is remaining, go preserve it. We'll have to eat it again later. No throwing
Mhm.
away anything. And sometimes the people around will be like, what the heck? What you doing? This is
Yes.
leftover. Nobody's going to eat it again. Let's throw it
Mm.
away.
Mm.
But I feel I like you said, I freeze each time I
Mm.
see food being wasted or
Mhm.
wasted. That's how I see
Yeah.
it. Each time
Mm.
you have to throw away food, I freeze. Because to me, that's waste. Because growing up, we had to manage everything we had. Food
Mm.
had to be preserved and nothing must be thrown away, nothing must be because we lacked
Mm.
while we're growing up. So
Right.
that's my trauma. And now I understand it. And now I
Mm.
know. So even in my house, sometimes I just like, ah, let me throw this away. Nobody will die. Nobody will die. Sometimes if you come to my freezer, you see little food. You know,
Mm.
this little one that was left, I have packaged it is frozen. This little one that was left, I have packaged it is
I'm the
frozen.
same.
And then
I'm the same.
sometimes it is there. Nobody's going to eat it again.
I'm the
Sometimes it's
same.
too small for you to even want to do anything with it. So I'll gather
It's
all.
true.
Oh, I beg today. Let me clear this freezer.
Mm.
Let me bring out all these tiny foods that I have frozen everywhere. So it's cluttering the place. So I'll now like remove all of them. That is my trauma. I have recognized it. I know what it is. And so it's something I can freely talk about. So
Mm.
should anybody
Mm.
around me, my husband, my children, or anybody complain about me trying to preserve what shouldn't be preserved, I don't
Mm.
get angry. I don't
Wow.
react from a place of hurt because
Mm.
I know that they are just pointing out my trauma to me. So I'll just laugh. I say, okay, please go
Mm.
and throw it away. All right, no wahala. We won't die. That's not what will kill us. Like my husband would
Mm.
say, that's not what will make us poor. That's not what will make me poor. So go and throw it away. So
Mm.
a lot of people
Mm.
grew up and had one issue
Wow.
or the other. It could be
Wow.
acute, it could be chronic, it could be complex, but there are lots of things that people are carrying around that they need to unburden, they need to speak about, and then face today's reality. And remember that my today is not my yesterday. I do not
Mm-mm.
have to react to situation based on what I have seen. A colleague of mine told me some years ago that he did not want to buy gas. You know, Mama Tim, in the area where you live, cooking with gas, the cooking gas is the only
Mm.
alternative you have.
That's it.
But back home in Nigeria, we use the kerosene stove, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
We use wood back home.
Mm.
So this
Yes.
young man was saying back then he didn't want to buy a gas burner or a gas cylinder. He didn't want gas used in his house. He preferred the kerosene stove. Reason, while he was growing up, there was a
Wow.
two-story building beside where they lived that
Mm.
caught fire and burnt to the ground. The whole building
Mm.
came down, and the result and the cause of the fire was a gas explosion. Someone was cooking in their house, and for some reason there was an accident and there was a gas explosion, and the whole
Mm.
building burnt down. And so he kept
Mm.
telling, he said, I have seen with my eyes. I saw a whole two-story building come down, went down to ashes because of gas
Mm.
explosion. So no gas in my house. So one day I said to him, have you
Mm.
seen a car accident? He said he has never been involved in an accident. I said, okay, but have you
Have
seen
you
an
seen?
accident scene? He said,
Yeah.
yes, he has seen. So will you say you will never enter a vehicle because you have seen a vehicle accident scene? He
Mm.
kept quiet. So I said, these things happen. We need to come to terms with the fact that things happen. And the fact that
Yeah.
one thing happened does not mean that it's going to occur every
For
day
you.
or every time. It is just
True.
one of those happenstance in life. And so
Mm.
we unburden, we talk about it and get to know that it is a reality that happened at the time. We do not have to live in that reality
Fair.
because if
Mm.
we keep living in that past reality, it will
Mm.
form our present reality and will prevent us from enjoying life where we
Mm.
are, which is the present.
Yes.
So, but when we unburden and accept that, okay, an incident happened, yes, we are not saying it didn't happen. It happened, yes. It was hurtful, yes. It was a terrible experience, yes. But it is past.
Mm.
It was in the past. That's why we're saying it was. It has
Mm.
passed. So
Mm-hmm.
it's not going to follow us all the days of our lives. So let's leave it behind and enjoy today. Enjoy where we are one day at a time. When we begin to have this conversation, people will begin to realize and they will begin to
Yes.
become conscious of
Yeah.
how they relate and how they react to situations around them, so that the
Mm.
past does not hurt the present. I hope I've not
I'm
talked too
very,
much.
I'm very happy where you went. Very, very happy. You talked about the somebody that might not want to change their last name. I or love and say they love. There was a time that I observed some of the ladies I speak with when we're buying things. We go like grocery shopping. They were like, my
Mhm.
children don't eat this. I'm not buying it. My children. They kept on saying my children don't eat. I'm not buying it. And you know where I come from, there's an adage that whatever the husband of the house don't eat, the wife of the house don't cook it. Yoruba people will say,
Okay.
"Nǹkan tí baálé ilé ò kí ń jẹ, ìyáálé ilé ò kí ń sè." So I thought you'd be saying your husband as well. No one says about their husbands. So I'm like, why are you all saying this? I come to conclusion that is all exactly what you said. The trauma, seeing what our father did to in the past, and now we don't want to be
Yes.
vulnerable and all these
Yes.
things. We really need to be healed. We really need healing, because then, like you said, we're not fulfilling.
Mhm.
You know,
Because
we're not
those children will grow up and become a problem to their own spouses.
as well.
Because when they feel like, okay, at home, whatever I didn't eat, my mom didn't cook. So while I
Mm.
am living with you, whatever I don't eat, you shouldn't cook. And that will
Oh
become a
my
problem to their
God.
spouse. Or whatever I
Mm.
am not eating, I will not cook. So you deprive your spouse of what he or she loves, just
Mm.
because while you were growing up, your mother didn't cook what you didn't love. That is
Mm.
another way. That's so. Those are all the things, our trauma affecting
Mm.
our life, and keeps affecting, and like a ripple effect into other
Wow.
things, and causing, all the discomfort that we are having around. You
Wow.
mentioned divorce earlier.
Mm.
You know, I saw a movie where a woman who had a very loving husband, and she loved her husband. She wanted their marriage to work. But
Mm.
her past trauma of the way her father treated her mother, and she resolved that she was never going to be treated like that by her husband. She began to act in some form of bossy manner. She didn't know she was bossing her husband. She
Mm.
thought she was just preventing herself from being treated the way her mother was treated. So she made
Yeah.
her own money. She was very independent. She lived. She was. It was her word that was law in the house, because she didn't want to be subservient like her mother was.
Yeah.
Eventually, the house became very uncomfortable for her husband, but she didn't know, she didn't see it until it had caused a big problem. And of course, it's a movie. So, in the
Mm.
course of therapy, the therapy was opening her eyes, and then she realized that she was doing exactly what her father did to her mother that she didn't like. She was doing the
Yeah.
same to her husband. Now,
Mm.
what I liked about the movie is the fact that it's still in the line of the conversation. Let's talk about it more so that people realize some of the things people are putting their foot down and said, I will not agree. You will not do this to me. I will.
I know.
It is their trauma. And if only they can realize that it is not as deep as you're seeing it,
It's
let
not
it
deep,
go
really.
so you can enjoy your marriage. When
Mm.
you do that, when people do that, then they'll begin to enjoy the union with their spouse and
Mm.
live life as
Mm.
freely as they should, instead of tying themselves down and saying,
Mm.
no, no woman will do this to me. No, no man will do this to me. Why?
Mm.
Because they felt that probably in the past they saw people going through the same situation, and they have come to believe that it is a terrible thing. It must
Wow.
not happen. A man shouldn't tell me
Mm.
what to do. A woman shouldn't be. It just remind me
Hey,
of a person who said a woman, his wife can never work.
I know.
Say
No, I have it.
his wife
I
will
have
not work.
I have
Why?
a family member like that.
Yes, because growing up, his mom was very enterprising. His dad was the introvert, a quiet man who had a paid employment, working with the government and earning his little civil servant salary and
Mm.
providing for his home to the best of his ability. He was doing his
Mm.
best. He was a good man, looked after his children, looked after his home. But his wife was very enterprising. So she was a trader, going
Mm.
out, buying stuff, coming to sell from state to
Mm.
state, interstate trading, and all of that.
Mm. Yeah.
So she had money. She had plenty of
Mm.
money. So, and then she supported the home, but she also became arrogant. she also became bossy,
Yeah.
and her husband, not wanting trouble, withdrew the more, because remember I said he's a quiet man. So when
Right.
his wife began
Natural.
to become that, exactly, his wife became
Mm,
really bossy, so he was withdrawing the more into his shell. And the more the man withdrew, the more
the
arrogant
bigger the
the woman
madam.
grew, the bigger the madam, to the
Mm-hmm.
point she was having affairs, that people knew about, even the children knew about. And then the man
Wow.
became depressed, but he couldn't talk
Oh.
about it. He was a sad
Mm,
person, but he couldn't talk about it. So the son grew up with that in his mind and told
to,
himself his wife can never work, because he believed that once a woman has money, she will not respect her husband anymore. She will begin to cheat on her husband is going to be unhappy and depressed, because that's what happens to his father. But that is wrong. It doesn't mean
absolutely.
that if your wife, yes, your wife working is just expressing herself, because your wife also has gifts by nature that she needs to express. She
Mm,
went to school, she acquired an education. She needs to express all of this so that she'll also find fulfillment. It doesn't mean that if she works outside of the home and makes money, she's going to become like your mom. So do not punish your wife for the sins of your mother.
mm-hmm. Exactly.
So now, if this man learns and hears this and is able to unburden that
Right.
thing that is in his head, and get
Mm,
a different perspective to life, remember and get the knowledge that his wife is not his mother. And
yes.
because his mother did what she did, does not mean his wife is going to do what she did.
Mm-hmm.
Then begin to have the conversation with his wife. In fact, open up to her and tell her, this is my fear.
Mm,
This is what I experienced growing up, and this is what I fear. And I want us to agree that we will never let this happen in our home. And then they have
yeah.
that conversation. Then they become open to each other and love each other the way they want to. Then his wife's independence will not become a matter that will lead to a divorce. I
Mm,
talked about irreconcilable differences some time ago. At
yeah.
what point do differences become irreconcilable?
I wonder.
Sometimes we'll just say that these issues are not this deep.
We made
If
it. We built
only,
it.
yes, if only we can take away our past trauma and look at them for what they are in the present, discuss around them, talk about them, and have an open mind and open conversation with our spouse about some of our fears, then they will not be that deep. But sometimes trauma will make, like you said, people don't even realize it is trauma. So they don't
Mm,
even talk about it. In fact, they think talking about it will make them vulnerable. So they do not want to talk about it. They just live in it and allow those things to begin to affect their relationship. And you find lots of things going wrong everywhere.
okay. Next, I think next week, just because we're running out of time, you've given us a
Oh,
lot of
really?
information. Yes. And I'm so happy about this because if it could take me years and years to realize that I had trauma, I know for a
Hmm.
fact a lot of people also will have this fear. You were talking about
Wow.
limited resources that makes up that I keep food in the fridge. There was a time that I had flu, I couldn't eat, and then my husband will buy like something nice, like nice steak. I like steak. I can't imagine myself not being able to eat steak. It's never happened. So when this happened, I'm
Hmm.
like, no, by tomorrow I'll be fine. I kept it. Next, my husband said, no, you need to throw it away. And I'm like, no, no, no. Every time is exactly what you said. Don't throw away. My kids will come into the cupboard and say, Mom, this is expired. I said, it's only chili. Chili doesn't get expired. Leave it in my cupboard. This one
Exactly.
something that I'll say, don't worry, we can take it. Mommy, it's got dairy. This has got dairy, is expired. I'll be keeping it like that. Also with the clothings, I think I've got a lot. With the clothing materials, I'm still dealing with that, but now I'm
Mm.
realizing, and I need to talk about it because the more you talk, the problem you share, this problem you have, as they say.
Yes.
So I like this conversation a lot because it's making me to purge, to even look more inward. What else is there
Yes.
that unconsciously
What else is there?
what else is there? That's what I want to
Yeah.
talk about. I think next week, uh, Pastor Juliana, you're going to talk to us about the remedy.
Migrants. Okay. Oh, okay.
And the
All right.
remedy to cure this. And I was gonna link it also with the migrant, because when we're
Yes, you talked
coming,
about
whatever
migrants.
is,
So
mhm, like we
whatever
came from
people come,
Nigeria,
yes,
for example, I was saying, yes.
yes.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Oh,
Yeah.
all right. So people come from different climates with
Mm,
what they are used to, what they know, what
mm,
they have done over the years,
mm,
coming into a different society. Now, generally, when people come into a different society, they will need an orientation on how things are done in that society.
mm,
That's why, like back here, back home, when we get in, when children transit from the high school into the university, in the
mm.
university, there's usually an orientation that says to you, this is
Mm.
not a secondary school. Things are
Yeah.
done here differently. In
Yes.
secondary school, somebody may have come to wake you up to go get here. Nobody will come to wake you up to go get ready for school. You
Yes.
need to do that yourself. Here,
Mm,
nobody is going to force you to copy your, in high school, your teacher will say, let me see your notes. Are they complete?
mm,
Here,
mm.
nobody is going to check your notes to see if they are complete. If you're completely on your own. So that's like
Yes.
an orientation on how things are done in this new environment.
And the
So usually
expectation.
when people migrate, when people come from a different society into a new society, they come with whatever it is they know from back home.
Oh,
And all of that, like
which
people
is
are used
nothing. We
to
know nothing. I'm sorry. We know something, but a
aggression.
lot we don't know.
Exactly.
Mm,
Aggression and all of those kind of things. You believe that,
mm,
like in Nigeria, we would say there is this subtle competitive spirit in Nigeria. It's very subtle, but it's there. Someone
mm,
said Nigerians are so competitive that we have a generator call I pass my neighbor.
mm.
So, oh,
I heard that.
all of those, subtle things, we could come with them into a foreign land with all of that. And so your neighbor drives past, you want to wonder why he's like that, or you want to be like the person, or a little some kind of subtle competition somewhere, somehow it's
Mm.
there.
Very
But it is
dangerous.
the trauma that the person has come with from where the person is coming from. So all
Hmm.
of those things are the things that could make um, the lives of immigrants a bit difficult in the new place where they find themselves. Like you said,
Hmm.
next week we may be talking about the remedy. Of course, the
Yes.
remedy for that would be an orientation, but that doesn't mean that every migrant needs therapy
You
because
reckon?
people,
I think we
you say,
all need some. I said, you reckon we don't need? We need,
I
oh,
think while some people may just need an orientation, while some people will
because
need
I
deep
didn't need it. I
rooted
didn't need it when
therapy.
I came. I didn't need the. I didn't need it when I came. I was no trauma. I was perfect. It took me a long time to realize that
To
I'm not
realize that you had,
yes. So I reckon we should be talking about it, and especially when you are a new married couple, for example, just newly married, and then you travel. I
okay,
think,
I see the
uh,
angle. I see the angle you're
yeah.
going. Yes, yes,
So
yes, yes,
whether
yes,
it's
yes, yes.
mandatory or it's not, I think people should just know that when we get there, we need to go have therapy. So they will tell us how things work in the Western world and how we have to manage ourselves wherever. Don't say you know it all, because uh, hmm,
Nobody
I will
does.
next week I will tell you more about my and I was when we came to Australia newly, I'll tell you what I experienced even. But I didn't think it was trauma then. I was just upset. I was just fighting. My husband, you can't be a director and to say you want to go to work, you're not going to clean all these things. Is because, and in Nigeria, I mean, we had maid, we had all that, but he would tell me the reason why he couldn't do what he couldn't do. But because I don't want to be ill-treated like my mother, I don't want to be the second fiddle or all these things. I wasn't listening to what he was saying. And even if we bring a suggestion like, can we get a cleaner? He has enough money to get a cleaner. I'll say, no, you don't have money. And he says he has money. I'll be fighting with him that, no, you don't have enough money for cleaner. Both of us to clean. We should save that money for our children. We
Mhm.
should save.
We
It's not
should
about
save the
saving
money. Save the
because
money.
tomorrow save the money. So this I'm going to share more next week, shine more light about this. This is the reason why I want to talk about this, because a lot of young couples, they come into new settlements as well. They're experiencing this, and sometimes it's already it's gotten worse before it gets to us, before
Before they
we're able to,
realize.
before they realize, or some of them will not even tell us before everything is bad, before we know. So they don't just come and say, this is what I'm going through. Or they might not even realize it's something on it until it gets bad. Men are very switched on. When they have enough, they have enough. They just make this drastic decision, and there you go. But the women, sometimes we're thinking, oh, it can't go anywhere. It's not gonna go anywhere. It's my husband. No, but he's had enough, because you kept on
It's
hitting
hard
this
enough. Mm,
hard rock every time.
mm,
So it's hard
mm,
enough. There's little
mm.
to which some people can take, especially men. Women can take a
Yep.
lot. I don't think men can take a lot of heat like that.
By
So
creation, yes.
by creation, exactly. So
By
we need
creation,
to,
men cannot take a lot of heat.
at all. So when they're saying I'm dying, I'm dying, I'm dying, they might even die one day. So it's true that we start to find out, do you want them to die? If you're happy with it, then so be it. But some people don't really want the marriage to break, and they don't want their husband to die, but they
To
just
go.
keep fighting, not knowing. They don't want their husband to go, but they don't know. So that's why I thought this trauma, I could see it playing out a lot of times.
Mm.
I think we should talk
Yes.
more about it. And
About
I
it.
know
Okay.
you're an expert. You even shared that on your platform. I saw that a couple of weeks ago. You talked about trauma on your platform with the relationship or so. So that's
Okay.
why I
Yes,
thought,
I did.
yes, exactly. So you're the best person. Let's talk more about. I'll share more about my own also experience, that trauma that God has healed me from, and I'm still getting more. I want to purge myself of every impurity, because it just shortchange you. You just don't enjoy
Mm.
life fully,
The way you should exactly.
the way you should, which is sad. But
Yeah.
I know we don't have time. We want it to be sharp and short. But Pastor Jimmy, thank you.
Thank you for
I love
having me.
anytime. I love your fire. I love your vibrancy and your depth of knowledge in this area. You've done it. You even do it for a whole lot of
Thank you.
people, and I know back home and overseas, and we could see your handiwork even here in Melbourne. I could see you working. So God bless you.
Amen.
Yeah,
Thank
I
you so much,
appreciate
Pastor
you
Tim.
richly.
God bless.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. See you next week. So to everybody,
See you next week.
thank you so much for listening,
Bye.
and we
Have a
hope
wonderful week
you
ahead.
use it. Amen. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Yeah. Bye. Bye.
Bye.